Hey there friends, I'm Andrew from the Scrapbox, and The Last of Us has been one of my absolute favorite games ever since it came out a long time ago. I remember thinking this was the pinnacle of technology and how real it looked. But since The Last of Us Season 2 is finally out, I wanted to make a Lego diorama that celebrates both the show and the game. Now, I'm gonna try to keep this as spoiler light as possible. You get back there. Good. All I'm gonna tell you about is the different type of infected there are, and our two main characters, Joel and Ellie. We're gonna be making each type of infected and our two characters and putting them in a diorama. Specifically, I wanted to go in this box because I got it years ago and I said, I'm gonna put something nice in here. And I think I got this in 2019. It's still empty. So, we gotta fill it up. Let's get to it.
Joel, come on.
Joel. Voiced by Troy Baker and played by Pedro Pascal in the show, Joel is the begrudging father figure in The Last of Us's dynamic duo.
Ah! What is wrong with you?
You should see your face right now.
Choosing the outfit for his minifigure was quite simple, as most of his appearances have him in a brown jacket.
Long fight.
Coffee.
Joel is also very fond of his green flannel, sporting it through most of the first game as well as here and here. All I have to do is some simple line work that takes heavy inspiration from Lego Indiana Jones, and I can't forget the back of the torso as well.
There you go.
While his torso may change throughout the games and show, I have never seen Joel without a pair of jeans and his set of work boots.
It's a little thing called style. Look it up sometime.
I'm not gonna say I'm absolutely happy with the boots, but they're good enough. I'm betting on them having less contrast when they're actually printed on a figure. For Joel's face, I'm gonna try to combine both his in-game and in-show faces. I feel like this is one of those 2010 sketchy sites that morphs two faces together while secretly installing spyware on your computer. Ah, the good old days. Luckily, both of my Joels look relatively similar with their gruff, bearded exteriors and stoic faces. Last, I'm using this hairpiece for the top of his head. Now I'm gonna send these to the UV printer and see what we got. Honestly, that's pretty good. A great combination of the two Joels into one tiny minifigure. I had painted some gray into his hair, and I was right about the contrast of the boots, but honestly, I think he could work with just plain blue legs.
Hello, gorgeous.
I love Joel Miller in the game, and you can't not be a fan of Pedro Pascal, but I really like how the minifigure turned out. I think my only complaint is his shoes. I should have put another base coat of white under there, but you live, you learn. Yeah, let's move on.
Ellie?
Ellie!
Ellie is a young woman who is determined, capable, and very angry. Out of her large wardrobe, I was initially tempted to make her first appearance outfit, but since Season 2 is based on The Last of Us 2, I decided to pick her classic outfit from that game, as it is confirmed to make an appearance in the show as well. Ellie keeps her outfit simple, with dark jeans and sneakers. Honestly, where do people find Converse 20 years after the world ends? She also has a gray-blue overshirt with what was at one point a white tank top underneath. I took the liberty of dirtying up the outfit just a bit, as tends to happen when you fight hordes and hordes of infected monsters. On Ellie's right arm, she sports a moth tattoo which covers up her
spoilers
and a lucky bracelet from her romance partner, Dina.
I am your romance partner.
Side note, Dina is my favorite character in the games, and if this video does well, I'll come back and make that full cast of characters. Unlike Pedro Pascal, who bears a striking resemblance to Joel, Ellie's real-time counterpart, Bella Ramsey, looks quite different from her video game counterpart. I want to be clear, I love Bella's portrayal of Ellie in the show. It just makes this part where I'm drawing the face a little difficult. However, they both share that scar over the eyebrow as well as that cocky, self-assured smile. Her hair for the second game will either make or break this character, as she's got part of her hair up in the bun, and the rest falls down to her shoulders. Overall, it has a frazzled form over function look to it. I selected these hairstyles at first, but and then thought these two combined would do the best. So I made my way into Blender. No, this Blender. Now every Blender project starts with a cube, which must be destroyed. Cursed cube, be gone! And now we can begin. Now I wish I could say merging two hairstyles was easy, but unfortunately most of these LEGO models are low resolution and non-manifold, meaning they have holes in them and they don't like to play nice. But with a few tricks, I managed to splice them into one piece, then go around smoothing out the choppy edges and trying to make things look as Ellie as possible. During the merge though, I made a nearly fatal mistake that you may or may not have noticed. I accidentally shifted the Ray hairstyle upward and forgot to shift it back, meaning that at the end of it all, Ellie ends up with a taller and larger hair than she should.
It's full of secrets.
However, with all of her pieces done, I can send her hair to the resin printer. Very nice. Now all we have to do is print the body and take a final look. And I hate the hair. If you're wondering why this project took 2 weeks, it's because I went back and redid the entirety of the hair, and now she looks like this. That looks 1,000 times better. In fact, I really like how Ellie turned out. Her hair, her head, her torso are phenomenal. My only two notes are maybe I should have made her tattoo smaller, and when I printed her legs, I did not check to see if the ink was dry and I smudged the white, which is my bad. But overall, a solid A. I think she totally kicks ass. Oh wait, no.
You swore.
Alright, we've got our main protagonist out of the way, but what are they gonna do? Sit around playing guitar all day? I mean, ideally. We're gonna have to make some infected. There are a couple different types of infected members. It's debatable amongst the community how many subdivisions you wanna make, but we're gonna divide it this way. Our first stage of infected are called runners, and that's because, well, they run. Yeah, you're gonna see a theme here. These are the newer infected. They're running around, they're very active, and very, very scary. This scene in particular, I had to take a break after playing this scene. Sorry, there's no spoilers. Don't look at it. I decided to make 2 runners because variety is the spice of life. Also because I insanely thought I could make Joel, Ellie, and all of the infected in a 1-week project. I truly am in a hell of my own creation, but you know what they say, the more the merrier. I tried to show where each figure had been bitten, but the details end up being too small to really differentiate. Overall though, I think I'd like their designs. Now this might be a controversy, but I did make the eyes of all the infected yellow. 1, because of this scene, and 2, because I thought it looked neat and I've gone mad with power and nobody can stop me. One of my favorite parts of The Last of Us is learning who the infected around you used to be. You could find notes next to bodies or in the rooms around you, but you tell me, who were these two? Were they friends? Enemies? Lovers? Or perhaps, maybe they didn't even know each other. Either way, it's time to send them off to the printer. They sure do love to mess around with jam though. While I like their designs, I remain unimpressed by my printer, who struggles to match the white undercoat's position with the top coat, or to print consistently on the legs. But even with those drawbacks, I give them a B. Now the next stage of infection is called the stalkers, and that's because usually at this point, you could see little stalks of the mushroom fungus coming out of them. The runners, they run. The stalkers, they have stalks. They're very clever in their naming conventions. Yes, they're also called stalkers because they like to stalk their prey, but frankly all of the infected stalk their prey, so the physical attribute of mushroom stalks growing from them is a good differentiator. Speaking of mushroom stalks, I'm taking these hairstyles as well as these flower stem pieces to be the stalks of the mushrooms growing out of them. I really wanted to keep everything within the realm of Lego, so the fungus that grows out of these figures will literally be Lego plant pieces.
I just think they're neat.
These infected have been around much longer than the runners have, so I've made their decals much more decayed. I also made 2 stalkers, which brings our current total to 6 minifigures so far. And as an extra bonus, I designed the shoulder piece from some armor that allows your infected more variety, or you could turn your runners into stalkers with it. As always, all of my decals and 3D models will be available for Patreon members. Thank you to everybody who supports my channel. Without you guys, none of this would be possible. Thank you. I think these guys might be my favorites. These scream that they're not just regular zombies, these are from The Last of Us. And their prints, while not the best from the printer, almost embellish their state of decay. So I'm gonna have to give them each an A. Very nice. It's time to move on to the clickers. You're never gonna guess what the clickers like to do. I feel like Dora. That's right, they click. The infection at this point has spread so much that it is covering the eyes or splitting the skull, and therefore they can no longer see, but just like bats using echolocation, clickers like to click as their form of echolocation, which leads to terrifying scenes like this. This haunts my nightmares. I love it. I use the mouth of Sauron as a reference for the head decal, as boy are his teeth terrifying. And I tried my best to use pre-made Lego pieces like the Demogorgon head for the head sculpt, but for some reason, this mesh was giving me so much trouble with holes and things like that I just decided to make the whole thing from scratch. I think the clicker is one of the most iconic forms of the infected, but I'm not overly fond of how this one turned out, as it was really hard to portray growing fungus and bumps on a sheer flat surface. Overall though, I think she holds a strong resemblance to the original design, and I give her a B, maybe B-. Moving on from the clicker, we've got the bloater. And that's because they look really, really bloated. The bloater has been around for quite some time. They are fully plated in fungal infection. That's literally how it functions as plated armor. These were... The death animations you get when you mess up fighting these things. No. No. In a previous video, I made armor that can bulk out a figure's body, including the arms, legs, and torso. I'm using that as a base for the bloater here and adding Lego plant pieces, like this flower piece, as part of his plated fungi exterior. He'll use the same head sculpt from the clicker, just painted differently, as well as her face print, which is lucky for me as we're now at 8 minifigures. The pieces all came out rather nicely, and... now that's gotta be an A+ figure right there. If I ever saw one, it's this bloater. That's looking good. There is one more type of infected that we have to make. He lives in the basement. The Rat King. Now, I can't say much about the Rat King, because I don't want to spoil it, but if you know what a Rat King is, well, I'll just show you. A Rat King is many infected merged into one. This one was just for fun, and it's done in a much more Lego-ized form using a Hulk Big Fig as well as different skeleton parts. You can see the bodies writhing inside of him, And while his paint may be splotchy, I still love him. This one was very fun to make. It's a much more cartoony version of the Rat King. Between you and me, I don't think he's going in the diorama. But speaking of the diorama, we got all these characters. We gotta put them somewhere. It looks really good. I think this is one of my favorite little dioramas I've made. There is one problem though. If this video does well, I do really want to go back and make the other characters like Abby and Dina. I don't know where they would go in the diorama, but I still want to make them. So if you want to see that, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Are there any characters you want to see in particular? Let me know down in the comments. Or if you're like, hey, yeah, this was cool, but I want to see other things, let me know down in the comments, because I always peruse and see what you want me to make. All right, you know what time it is. We're nearing that end of the video, so I've been Andrew. You've been watching The Scrapbox. Have yourself a wonderful day. You know, if a person's walking down the street and they got mushrooms growing out of their heads, run away. Okay, bye.